What mailing address would be used to set up this foundation? You can do, we've answered this question a lot. So the easy answer is you just don't want to use where you live or where you work. You want to use, you can use in care of to a neighbor's address for the foundation structure, or in care of to a UPS box or store. When you go and open up a bank account, the bank's going to run the UPS store and say, no, we need a physical address. I give my mom's address, to be frank with you, because I don't have a residence address. I don't care if I'm in a house. I don't care if I'm in an office. I don't have a residence address. I don't receive mail here. I don't claim this as a residence. And that's because that's a legal term and terminology. So I open it up with my mom's address, and immediately once the account is established, I write a letter letting him know that I'm going on a journey. I'll be sojourning for the next 2 years, and that they can mail everything to my UPS store number, and I no longer use this address at this location. And then they take that off of the account, and I never hear from them again. So you may have to use a physical address, which you may have to think through a little bit. I wouldn't want to use your home address because you always want to protect where you're living, where you sleep per se. And but a UPS box store I've had for 25 years, and I never will have things come to a place where I'm sleeping. But at the same time, Amazon, I'm not about to go down and pick up big, heavy boxes. So I'll have stuff come in care of a name of a trust to a private residence. And that's how it gets delivered. So I'm not going down to a UPS store and picking up. The purpose is, and this is, again, a long-winded answer, but it's critical. I've never been, I don't have a criminal record. I hold a broker's license, but one of the things that really intrigued me was I saw a few indictments, 2 or 3 critical indictments in my life, and they always read the same thing. And I dropped my jaw when I figured this out. And I don't know why this wasn't rocket science, but why God gave this to me and gave me clarity and understanding how they're gaining jurisdiction. So first and foremost, I'm doing this to help the people come out. And that question you asked, what address, is probably the most critical question to the living in the private program, other than status change. Because a continued use of your all caps name, your registered organization, which belongs to them, in association with a home address, the warrant will read like, I saw XYZ checking his personal mail at such and such address, and list out the address. Then I went down to the United States Postmaster, and he says XYZ gets personal mail at such and such address. 2. Then I went to the DMV, and I saw that XYZ has 2 motor vehicles registered at such and such address. 3 contract rule, indictment, warrant, whatever. And I kept reading these warrants and indictments. I'm like, shut the front door. Are you serious? Then I started looking at jurisdictional challenges in court. Same thing. They were going after them on the E-Trade accounts, on the bank accounts. Same thing. Address, use of the name. So I'm like thinking to myself, shut up. All I got to do is cancel the position of using that address, holding that office, being employed by the United States. Stop using the all capital letter name, stop receiving W-2s, 1099s, K-1s in that name. And I just started thinking through, and this is how this whole living in the private program developed out. So if you get mail in care of the foundation name to your house, it's okay. The problem is if you want to develop levels of Kevlar, of protection, of being private, you're not going to want to have a mailbox at your house. You may never want to get mail at your house. Does that mean the Amazon driver doesn't know where you're at? That you have numbers on your house, that the numbers on the house don't grant jurisdiction. It's the property of the United States Post Office that sits in that 1 square foot area of your land that you grant jurisdiction to them over by giving them that mailbox on your land. Now, 99% of the mailboxes out there say property of the United States Post Office. Now, as a licensed broker, I know that I can park something on somebody's land and hold jurisdiction over that land and eventually take that land. Well, that gets to a whole nother dialogue. Is it even really your land? Do you really hold title on that land? And so we're developing levels of Kevlar for you. And that question is so extensive and so big that best way to do it is just set up a private UPS store box. We help you do that. You go get it initially. I tell everybody, sign that box, non-assumptive in cursive. And what that looks like is taking, of course, I don't have a pen ready, and of course I threw that up. Just in cursive, you take the words non-assumptive, ASSUMPSIT, non-assumptive, and you sign it in cursive. And when you do that, you are saying no contract. And you get the mailbox established. And then we do a new, what's called 1583 for you. And in that 1583, you're going to do what's known as notary presentment. And you don't care whether they put it on file, they sent it back, or they put it in your mailbox. A notary is sending a new 1583 to the UPS store box, and it's an officer of the court verifying that you no longer holding that office with that artificial person, the all caps name, and that all mail from that point forward is going to go to the foundation. It's restructuring the governmental contract, the 1583, with the UPS store box. So that's the most critical thing, is you want to make sure you're quitting the corporation, you're not holding any offices, you're not using the artificial person, you're receiving all mail in the name of the foundation to a box other than your home address, and there's 30 other things we do in the living in the private program. But great question. And it's a question that's often answered or asked, but I try to help you understand it from a more depth standpoint.